I want to thank you for coming today. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's a pleasure to have Peter Morton here today, who will be speaking with us. He's an alumnus of DU, and he's actually a graduate of the HRTM school. So most of us here today are probably HRTM students or MBA students. I know we also have some faculty and staff who have joined us, so thank you for coming. Peter's best known for founding the Hard Rock Cafe and also the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Both of those businesses combined, he sold for $1.2 billion. So this gentleman has done very well financially. Currently, Mr. Morton chairs and has founded the 510 Development Corporation in Los Angeles. He's also a current trustee of the National Resources Defense Council. So please welcome Peter Morton.
Thanks very much. I wish I could say I was a great student when I was here. I wasn't. I like to establish that. So I've got a list of pointers that I was presented with to give you some background. I attended the hotel and restaurant school here. I graduated, and I really had planned to go to work for a large restaurant company after not getting into law school. I got a job with a company back east that was headquartered in New York. And by the way, if anyone, I want to keep this really informal. If anyone has any questions, please just raise your hand at any time, and we'll get a mic to you. I don't want this to become formal, so don't be shy about that. At any rate, got a job going to work for a company, and I said before I start work, I had graduated DU. I said I want to go travel in Europe and North Africa, and when I come home I'll start in September. And I was on my way home. I was in London, England, and there was no McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's. There was no American food there, and I said, I saw this food vacuum in London. I borrowed some money and went into business. I was 22, I think. And we opened the Hard Rock Cafe. We each put in, my partner and I each put in $5,000. We had a $150,000 loan from a bank, and we opened up the first Hard Rock. We, at that time, which was the mid-'70s, the Hard Rock Cafe t-shirts were, you know, probably 20% of this room, these students would have been wearing them at the time. Everything has a, you know, a strong phase to it. And we opened the Hard Rock, and it became, you know, a huge success. We then sat on it for a while because we didn't want it to be like any other restaurant chain, which was go out, make as much money as fast as you can. We were just out of college. We had sort of an, you know, we were still living with that anti-commercial vibe. And we wanted the Hard Rock to sort of adopt that ethos, that it wasn't about the money. And we sat on it for quite a few years. I opened the first Hard Rock in the United States in Los Angeles in 1982. And then we, you know, proceeded to, you know, open them all over America. Europe, Australia, Hawaii, et cetera, et cetera. I sold all the Hard Rock restaurants in 1996. I had opened the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, and I didn't want to sell that. I was in the process of continuing to grow it out, develop it, and I doubled the size of the hotel, um, and kept the hotel. I sold the hotel at the end of 2006. The transaction closed in 2007, right before we went, into that economic waterfall. I fortunately got out at the top of the economic cycle in Vegas. It's since then had virtually all, the Hard Rock's in bankruptcy now. Palms is in bankruptcy. All the hotels are sort of underwater financially at the moment. So that's my first strong point I'd like to make to everyone. Is what I tell my kids every day. I fortunately got out at the top, but things will get great again. The game will resume. We're in sort of a phase right now where we're deciding what sort of economic recovery we're going to have. But whenever we get back into the full swing of things, everyone has a tendency to forget what happened economically, and they will continue to do so again in the future. We'll hit a boom. House prices will start going up in huge numbers. That might take a while. But remember, there will be a correction again. It will be the magnitude of the correction that will, make it, more profound in one direction or the other. So, at any rate, I got into the hotel and casino business in Las Vegas. We did, great. And any questions at this stage? Okay. So that I gave you a brief overview of where I went with that. I'm presently working on a hotel concept that's very health oriented. I OCD every day on, working out, doing yoga, eating well, etc. And I want to be able to deliver a product that I've got in mind that I would like to go to, that I don't believe exists in the marketplace. As I went to London, there was no American food. This is a great opportunity to fill that vacuum. When I went to Las Vegas to build the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, no one was really marketing their product towards young people with a heavy emphasis on music. While I had the Hard Rock, we had, the Rolling Stones came twice to play. Everyone, Tom Petty, Depeche Mode, you name it, they came there. But no one had really, up until that time, ever marketed their product towards a younger audience. Now I see a vacuum like that in the sense that no one's really marketed a resort property that has what I would like it to have and would offer the amenities that I would like to offer. So let's see, question number. The statement that was written for me, for a life in business, what skills are necessary for financial success and also self-fulfillment? I think first of all, you've got to be doing something that you're passionate about. If you're not passionate about it, forget it. If you're just looking at it as a job I've got to do to earn some money, to pay some bills, you know, I really can't comment on that because that's not the way I've done things. Um, I was passionate to the point that I was told I wasn't going to graduate if I didn't cut my hair at DU. Um, I was on academic probation a couple of times. And the reason I'm saying that is I was not a good student. I would say if I had a C average, um, that would be on the high side. Um, but my point, the reason I'm mentioning that is there are just some people that don't necessarily excel in a classroom or an academic environment. And that's not to say they won't succeed in the world of commerce. Um, but what has to exist, whether you're an academic or an intellectual or someone who's interested in having a great time, you've got to be passionate about what you're doing. You've got to have a belief in what you're doing. And when my partner and I were doing the Hard Rock in London, I mean, we paid attention to every single detail of that place. We were in our respective apartments in London, and we were sitting on the floor, probably getting high, um, making music for the first Hard Rock Cafe. At that time, music was played on cassettes, which you probably don't even know what they are. Um, but you basically, today you burn a CD and, you know, off your computer, your iTunes, and then you would transfer songs then off literally a record onto a tape cassette. And, you know, the detail we put into the first Hard Rock, you know, from every song that went in there, everything that was on the menu, how much we charged for it, what the atmosphere was going to be all about. And you got to have that passion, commitment, dedication. That's what makes it great at the end of the day. When someone walks in there, they can smell the difference. They'll know the difference. We were never interested in building a chain that was just mass-produced, mass-replicated, etc. That just didn't interest us. But what skills are necessary for financial success? I mean, I would say the best skill and something I can't say I had a skill at is surviving financially, and I think we learned it as we went along. And to me, that's where another great education will occur for all of you, is when you get into the world of commerce, dealing with that. The financial thing, I think a great deal of it is intuitive. I was building next door to the Hard Rock Hotel in Vegas. I acquired the 24 acres of land, and I was building, at the time, which would be 2006, the largest single condo development in the United States. I had a fully financed $1.2 billion loan commitment from Credit Suisse in New York. And I also had competing offers from Bank of America and Credit Lyonnais. And I had 4,000 reservations with deposits for 1,200 units that we were building in 5 high-rise buildings. And I remember when I first went to the bank for the first time and had to borrow $25,000, how difficult it was. And I will never forget how easy it was to get the 1.2 billion. I mean, that's what spooked me, to be perfectly honest. And I woke up one day and I said, something is wrong with our system. If I can go out and get 1.2 billion, and I was putting up, I think the collateral on the loan was 3% of loan value. I mean, it was absurd. But that's what caused the meltdown in the financial marketplaces. All the banks were making so much money lending money, they were giving the money out to you. So that $1.2 billion loan that went to me, Credit Suisse would just run out and sell 50 million to JP Morgan, 50 million to Goldman Sachs. Everyone just kept laying off the loan. So Credit Suisse had no exposure, but they were obviously making a lot of money. Then JP Morgan, who would take 50 million, would sell that, and that's what went on in the system. And I told my lawyers, I was using the largest real estate law firm in the country, Skadden Arps. I told them, I think I'm not going to do this project. I'm going to return everyone's deposit because I think the condo market's going to crash. And they said, oh, you're crazy. What are you worried about? You got all the, I said, nope, I'm returning everyone's money and I'm going to sell my hotel and get out while the getting's good. And that's what I did. And to this day, I'm still thanking my lucky stars that I did so. So I think the moral of the story is be really aware of what's going on in the environment. And when things get too good, and trust me, they will again, you got to be careful. When I had first moved to London to open the Hard Rock, at that time they were having a property boom that was like, this would be 71, 72. All the young guys that were selling real estate, you would buy a house in the morning and you would sell it by dinner time for 100,000 pounds more. That's what all the young 23, 24, 25-year-old real estate speculators were doing. Then the oil embargo hit in, I think it was 73. The Bank of England raised the interest rates to 21%, and they had the almighty property crash in England. The pound went to $1 from $2.40 to $1 to $1. It's about $1.61 today, to give you an idea. And they had a huge economic crash. But the good news was the Hard Rock, we did phenomenal business because we were selling very inexpensive food. We were giving great value for money. People were having a great time. So for very little money, you could go out, have a great time in a great atmosphere and get a great meal with a lot of food. And so great ideas that offer great value for money will always do well, irregardless of what's going on. So it says right here, let's see, Daniel's College of Business has a big focus on business ethics and leadership. What ethical dilemmas have I faced, and what were his decisions? Yes, ethics are a huge issue. I was raised in a family where honesty, integrity were first and foremost the most important thing. I have my son's in high school. He's just graduating in this coming June. And I preach to him every other day. I mean, he was tardy. This is a good example. He was tardy today. He's had an issue with being tardy a little too often to classes. And so he said, could you write a note for me and tell him I was sick yesterday? And I said, no way. You know, I'm not lying for you. Listen, pal, face the music. And honesty and integrity is the only way to go. You will be faced with it on numerous fronts. There's an infinite amount of ways you'll be confronted with it, whether it's an employee doing something unethical, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a superior, whether it's the chairman of your company, integrity, it's going on every day today. The insider trading facing firms like J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they're all faced with it every day. There's an issue on it. You will all face these issues. We had an employee at the Hard Rock um, and in London. He was my partner and I, our best friend. Um, he was Indian. He was our accountant at the restaurant. I'm sharing this only because this is what you're going to face. We were in India staying with his family in India while he was taking many, many, many thousands of dollars out of our pocket to go and gamble at one of the many casinos that were opened in London at the time. And so at any rate, I found this out, and I told my partner, who at the time I flew back to London, he was in New York. I said, we've got a problem. And bottom line, he didn't want to prosecute him. I'm not going to go into why, but I said, there's no way. I am putting him in jail. He stole money. We have a civic responsibility to protect the next guy he might go to work for. And my partnership ended over that. And I think all of you have to be able to draw the line in the sand and say, you know what, I stand for honesty and I'm not accepting anything else. I was prepared to end my partnership, which I did, because that's the way I was raised, that's what I believe in. He went to prison. He went to a prison for white-collar criminals, probably served a year or two. As someone who was very close to me told me, it's extraordinary because it's the death of a friend, because it's a friend you never want to talk to again. Once a friend breaches my honesty, I'm not interested in hanging with them anymore. You will be faced with issues like that in business there's just too many to try and describe. Or, it could be a worker you see do something whereby they're not treating another worker correctly. It's your choice. I suggest, and I can only suggest, that you handle it with the utmost integrity. It will only serve you positively in the long run. And to me, I guess one of my strong points, I was not an academic. I couldn't pass an accounting course now if there's no chance. But I was good with people. People really liked to work for me. That was probably my strongest point because I was straight with them. I was fair with them. No one screamed at anyone. I had 2,000 employees at the Hard Rock Hotel Casino in Las Vegas in that one property. No one was allowed to scream at anybody. We handled everything fairly. I'd have staff meetings in the Joint, which was our concert venue. We'd have 2,000 employees there, and I would get up there and I'd say, okay, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what I can do better. And my people that were the respective management team that was working at the property would just start writing things. I treated people fairly, and we had a restaurant for the employees that was open 24 hours a day, because in the casino industry, it's a 24-hour-a-day property. If people got up and said, well, the menu selections in the employee restaurant, we were serving, about generally 800 to 1,000 meals a day in there. If they didn't like what we had on the menu, come on, let's change the menu, let's improve it. Every time I visited the property, I would make sure my people were being taken care of. That's the greatest resource in a business, is It's the people. No one's coming to see the walls or the floors, you know. And at any rate, honesty, take care of your people. What motivated me to exit the hard rock business and work on new projects? The one thing I didn't mention, what sort of coincided with the economic meltdown, was the fact that I had done the hard rock for like 30 years. I just wasn't, you know, I wasn't passionate about it anymore, and I thought it was a propitious moment to make my exit. That was pretty much as simple as it is. What is my outlook for the future pertaining to business project? I briefly described that. I want to get back into the hotel business. I'd like to create a very exclusive small chain that exudes sort of the qualities that I'm looking for. It's sort of iconoclastic in its ethos and vibe and spirit, and but offers a lot of things that I'm looking for, which I don't think it exists in the marketplace. I travel all over the world religiously, you know, and I haven't seen it yet. I've seen people try to get there, but they really aren't doing it in a way that I would like to do it. What personality traits or soft skills are needed for entrepreneurship? Excuse me. I think you want to do it. You got to want to do it at the end of the day. I think you could take a tremendously handicapped individual, and if he wants it or you want it or she wants it, you can get it. It's about desire, and obviously you have to have certain knowledge and basic skills to go with that, but you know, you got to have resilience, generosity, be highly motivated, and able to motivate the people that work for you, most importantly. I was really able to motivate the people that worked for me because I made my place a great place to work there. They didn't want to leave. I've got people in my office in LA that have been with me 21 years, 18. People like to stay if you treat them well. How did the Morton family history and restaurants come into play? My family's been in the restaurant business for about, 90 years. My father, bless him, is no longer with us, but my grandfather was a bootlegger. He never wanted anyone to know this. I had opened the Hard Rock in Chicago, and the Chicago Sun-Times had called me up, interviewing me about it, and I mentioned my grandfather was a bootlegger on the south side of Chicago, and I got a phone call from my father. He said, if you want to continue to have a relationship with me, you better never, ever talk about that again. He was very civic-minded, involved with the city, but he was the one who gave me my principles on integrity. There was a part of our family that I guess today it's not considered dishonest, but I don't know if it really was at the time. I wasn't around, but they went from that into the restaurant business. My father opened a chain of restaurants called Morton's of Chicago. It's a worldwide chain now. I was around restaurants. I worked, working in the family restaurants in the summer. Also, we were involved in the hotel business too. So, yes, that obviously came into play. What were the biggest challenges over the years? And I'd like to remind everyone, if anyone has a question, please Um, the biggest challenge is, I think everything's a challenge. Um, you know, everything, people, finances, motivating your people. I mean, when you have a restaurant or a chain of restaurants, you got a big extended family. Everyone in this room has a family, and I bet there's not one person in this room that can say they haven't had issues of one sort or another with their family, their immediate family. It's the same way in a large corporation. You are a larger family. There will be issues, same sort of ones you'll face. Um, trying to interact with everyone in the most positive way. Um, and overcoming them, there's no, we'd have to start dissecting each issue by issue to give you an exact answer. I think, but first and foremost, the one thing you have to focus on, you have to have a desire to overcome whatever problem you're confronted with. What were the three most rewarding events over the years? Um, I would say opening the Hard Rock Cafe in London and seeing, we had lines in front of the restaurant for 20 years, seeing 400 or 500 people standing in line to get in. It was sort of a cultural phenomena at the time we opened it. I would say another rewarding experience was introducing the Rolling Stones on the stage in my hotel. Let me see. And having my children, being a dad. And being a dad, excuse me, was number one. And opening the Hard Rock 2 and the Stones 3. What advice do you have for MBA students as well as hospitality students? Pretty much a little bit of everything I've been discussing. Everything applies, whether you're an undergrad or a graduate student. It's the old, I don't want to sound mundane: integrity, desire to succeed, motivation. I'm not going to bore you all with that. But let me see what time. Okay, the floor is yours. Yes? Oh, sorry. You're going to get her a mic.
Was when you built your team, what did you look for?
That's a good question. I mean, I apologize for the pretentiousness of this comment, but I could just meet people, and I could meet a girl who wanted to be a waitress or a guy who wanted to be a cook, and I can just get that vibe right there and then. I can't explain that. I'm not talking about a formal management structure, but when I was interviewing people, obviously as my company grew, I was not doing that anymore. But instead of interviewing waiters and cooks, etc., I was interviewing, directors of operations, chief financial officers, presidents of, that would ultimately become the president of the hotel, etc. So no one thing, just, it would depend on the job, the respective job someone was applying for and what I needed at that time. I apologize if that's a little vague, but it's a broad question.
Hi, my name's Brianna, and I'm currently in the hospitality school. And I was just curious how long it took for your first property in London to become profitable. And then also, I was curious if there was ever a point that you wanted to throw in the towel and quit, and what made you change your mind.
Try a week after we open. Well, you opened the door, so I'll tell you what happened. It's an interesting story, and there is a good point to this story. But I was being 100% serious because when we opened, 5 days before we opened, the restaurant, we had no money. And Chase Manhattan Bank, which is now part of J.P. Morgan, called us up. They really liked my partner and I, and they said, guys, we really like you, but you're way overdrawn, and we can't allow you to write any more checks. We were about 5 days from opening, and we were verging on bankruptcy. We owed the contractor like 100,000 pounds. I don't remember the exact number. And we decided we got to go. I mean, we tried to sell the restaurant for someone who is willing to assume all the liabilities. And I just, you know, we were 22 years old, living in a foreign country. We don't have a checking account. Our business is due to open in, 5 days or so. Everyone's screaming for their money, and we can't sell it. So how do you run a business without a checking account? This is the truth, too. So we opened the restaurant. Obviously, all bills were paid on approximately 30 days, all your receivables. And the first day, we did like 200 pounds in sales. And we'd say, pay the beer man, hamburger buns, meat man. Next day, we did 250. We'd pay the produce purveyor. Next day, we did 275, and we're like scrambling. We haven't paid our staff. The next day, we did, say, 350. We pay all the wages. We're paying everyone in cash, out of the cash register. And this went on for 6 weeks, and every day it's getting busier and busier. We're trying to unload the business. And finally, there was a company called Movenpick that's based in Switzerland. They were a restaurant conglomerate in Switzerland. They had Movenpick hotels. They did all the airline food service for Swiss Air. Huge multi-million-dollar restaurant and hotel company. They came in and we sold them 50% of the Hard Rock if they would inject, I don't remember what the exact amount was, but approximately $250,000, pay off the purveyors we were in arrears with on payment. And but we put a clause in there. We have the rights to buy it back from you if we do so much in business. And the bottom line, we managed to, every day it got busier and busier until 6 weeks after we opened. We had a line in there. 2 years later, we bought them out. So the moral of the story is, when you hit tough times, you gotta, I was ready to quit, and you gotta hang in there. And I guarantee a lot of you will hit some financial roadblocks, whether personal or corporate or in your job, and you gotta hang in there. I hope that answers your question.
Hi, Mr. Morton. My name's April, and I'm
Peter,
in the
please.
Sorry, excuse me. Hello, Peter. My name's April, and I'm a junior in the hospitality program. And I studied abroad in France last quarter, and I took an international HR class. And just on that note, I know you're talking about how you want to instill the honesty and integrity in all of your employees, and that was how you first started, what you emphasized. But as you saw your brand grow, and it went international, and it went to all these different cities and countries, how did you do your best to maintain that honesty and integrity in all of your branches, and how did that training kind of come into play?
Good question. Well, most importantly, everyone was trained within the company. We promoted from within the company, which I really believed in. So every person that was going, say, I opened a Hard Rock in Honolulu, and I was headquartered, my offices were in Los Angeles. The general manager that would be heading up that unit was, I hate to use the word, but indoctrinated with the love all, serve all concept of the Hard Rock at that time. He in turn would inculcate that in all his people, and it just kept traveling down the chain. So pretty much anyone who went to a location outside of where I was based really understood and believed in the philosophy of the Hard Rock and carried it forward.
Hi, I'd be interested to hear how your focus changed and how you acquired the skills to go from making mixtapes and managing one restaurant to managing a larger enterprise as it grew.
You know, it grew organically. We had opened in London, the first one. My home was Los Angeles, where I've been, you know, pretty much raised most of my life. I still live there today, aside from being in Denver and living in London for 10 years. I opened in Los Angeles, opened the first Hard Rock, you know, at the time, you know, the phenomena was continuing. And I said, well, I got to open another one. I want to be in a large city close to LA where I can sort of get there. San Francisco seemed like a good choice. And it just kept growing out like that. Then Chicago, then Honolulu, then Sydney. Once I had a base in I had Hard Rocks in Honolulu and Maui. I felt comfortable sending people down to Sydney, Australia, and went to the south, whether to New Orleans, and it just organically grew from there. There was no specific game plan. It was pretty much really what felt right, what, you know, would grow the brand in the best possible way.
Castle, is it on? Yeah. I'm a fellow BAD student of DU's EMBA program. And I'm wondering about the memorabilia aspect, the concept there. Did you have that in the beginning? I know it started as a restaurant, but where did that come in? Did you have access to that in the very beginning or later?
Ultimately, we had a person who literally that's all he did. He sort of traveled the globe, you know, interacting and contacting bands, managers, agents. You know, at Sotheby's and Christie's in New York, they have, you know, where they auction off rock and roll memorabilia. You know, we bought it there. He would be interacting with collectors throughout the world, and that just kept growing where he had a full-time staff that's all they did was looking for, you know, Jimi Hendrix Flying V guitar or whatever. If it was being auctioned somewhere, he'd be at that auction, you know, buying it, et cetera, et cetera.
Hi, my name is Michael Agne. I'm a Master of Science in Real Estate and Construction Management. With respect to the hotel, from both an ownership and management perspective, what were some of the main challenges you faced in opening a gaming operation?
Well, how I did it, I did not know anything about the gaming business. I'm proud to say I still do not know how to play craps. Truthfully. When I opened the hotel, I owned 60% of it. I had a huge financial hurdle in that situation, but it brings up a good story, and one that there's the largest gaming company in the world is Harrah's. to this day, they're still the largest. They have gaming properties throughout many municipalities throughout the world. I had a deal with them for them to be my partner because I didn't know how to run a casino, manage a casino. I had no idea. And we had the property debacle in '91 where everything went down. And I think on the strength of that, they felt, well, this guy's going to take our deal. It was like a 51, I would have 51% of the equity. They would have 49%. And like the night before we were due to sign the papers, whereby then the bank would be willing to lend the money to me, they said, sorry, but we need 51%, and you're going to have 49, which meant it's their hotel. And they said, this guy's not going to walk away from a fully financed hotel casino in Las Vegas for 2 percentage points. And I said, you know, gentlemen, this was not the spirit of our agreement. We had a deal, and if you're not going to honor the deal, I'm going. And I left. I own the land in Vegas that I had bought all around the Hard Rock Cafe. And I walked away from the deal thinking I'm not going to have a hotel. That was my one chance to get into the gaming business. And like 2 days later, it's done, over. 2 days later, I got a call from First Interstate Bank of Nevada, a man called Joe Brady, who was the officer overseeing that loan. He said, listen, we really like you. By the way, this is about karma. We really like you, and we think we know someone who could be your partner in the hotel. I said, great, I'll meet him. They owned a resort, hotel casino resort in Lake Tahoe called Harvey's. I flew up to Lake Tahoe. I met him. They said, we'll be your partner. 60-40 now. I got 60, they got 40. And so it went from, because I remained true to my moral principles, even though I felt in my head I was walking away from a fully financed hotel casino in Las Vegas, I ended up with a better deal. They became my partners, the 40% partners, and they ultimately went public on the New York Stock Exchange. I always never was interested in going public. And they had a need for cash down the line, and I ultimately bought out their 40%, which turned out to be a, good purchase for me. And so the hurdles you hit right from day one. And then putting the financial issues aside, getting licensed in the state of Nevada, was an ordeal that took 2 years, and you couldn't literally have anything more than a moving violation. If you had anything more than a moving violation, you're not going to get licensed for a gaming license in the state of Nevada. It's just, they didn't want the mafia in there, and that was the deal. So the issues continued, I'd love to share them with you, but they kept going.
Hospitality student. Clearly one of the most unique components of your business is the music component. So how much knowledge do you need of the music industry relative to the knowledge of the hospitality industry?
Well, I had no knowledge of the music business other than I loved music. I still do. And, I learn every day about music. Listening to my kids, burn CDs. It was a love of music that I wanted to share with the public. Bringing music to Las Vegas, bringing acts like whether it was Tears for Fears or the Eagles or, you know, John Bon Jovi, whoever it was. You know, I just think music transcends all ages, politics, religion. So there was no, I don't know anything about music. The only thing I know about is what I love in music. And I wanted to share that with the public.
Hi, Peter.
Hi.
My name is Jackie. I'm a master's student here in Daniels. In your speech, you mentioned your personal charm, your skill of getting.
I didn't say I was charming.
I was trying to do a follow-up version of explaining it.
Yeah.
You mentioned your skill of getting along with people, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a key points to kind of glue people or bond people together at the start of your business. But as your business grows, things are kind of getting diluted. My question is, what do you think you will do to kind of keep your personal charm, whether you admit it or not? By seeing that, I mean, what kind of a corporate culture are you going to try to build within your corporation? Thanks.
I apologize. Could you condense that question a little bit for me? I'm sorry. I just
Sure.
the
My question is, as your business increases,
as what?
as your business increases, grows, things are getting diluted. So by like individual personal charm, it's not going to be enough to maintain your large business. So what will you do to keep that culture within your corporation?
Well, as you know, that's a good question. I don't own. I've sold all my businesses to date. I'm in the throes of trying to start a new business, and I would embody the same principles, beliefs, etc. in the new business. Hopefully, you know, I can't. There's no guarantee that I can, you know, do it. I'll, you know, try real hard though. I think it's trying to do what you believe in and continuing to follow those principles. I apologize if that's a little vague, but what?
Hi,
Yes.
Peter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, Peter. My name is Daniel. I'm an MSF student. I notice many people ask you how you succeed and how you manage your business, but I also noticed that failures do help people to grow as well, as they are the time people stop and think how to improve. So could you share a failure or something like that, and how you face it, how you get through it, and what do you learn from it?
Did I hear you say fear?
Failure.
Oh, failure. I'm sorry?
Failure.
How you face failure?
Yeah.
Literally, you stare it in the face and, you know, when it happens, I think you've got two decisions. Am I going to defeat it, or is it going to defeat me? And I've always had the attitude that I'm going to defeat it, whatever it may be. I'd like to give you a more articulate or detailed answer, but there isn't one. I think it really comes down to determination, whether it's a technical problem or a social problem or whatever it might be. It's that determination to allow yourself to go forward and, you know, end up on the winning side.
Peter, I just have one last question for you, and that regards your future project that you're looking at with the health-oriented hotel. First of all, I'd like to know if you've kind of benchmarked off of David Murdoch's property up in Westlake Village. and if your model will somewhat be like the California Health Institute, and why also you're going for the exclusive high-end market as opposed to a mass market.
Well, good question. Funnily enough, my son's best friends with David Murdoch's son, Justin Murdoch. I like Justin. His father is, he OCDs on health. Because it's the type of place I would want to go to. At this stage of the game, I'm not interested in going to a hotel with 600 rooms. I'm just not interested in that sort of hotel. Unless, I'm in a large foreign city and, that's what's available. But if I'm going to a resort property, I literally want to be in a place with 20 rooms, 25 rooms. That's really cool in a lot of different ways, from its design, its philosophy, the ethos of it, the spirit of it, everything just being really great, but in a not fancy way. Hard to explain, but when you turn on that shower, I mean, you get a massive jet of water, and you've got the best sheets in the world, and you've got fresh food, not coming out of can. It's not about quantity; it's about quality. And I think today, quantity isn't the issue; it's quality. So,
I'd like to thank you again for coming today.
my pleasure. Thanks a lot.
You guys, everyone's welcome to head up to the Daniels foyer on the second floor. Peter's going to come up for around 15 minutes or so if you guys want to ask some questions face to face, or maybe just say thank you. Let's give one more hand of applause.